technically when a person files for divorce, they can get a temporary order that removes someone within 24 and 48 hours. That obviously was not done here, but that is fairly standard.
I've not heard from Ms. Webber specifically about this court date. She emails me random emails all the time with like random attachments or like stuff. I mean, so like yeah, good thing I got 10 emails from her yesterday, but nothing specific about whether she was intending to log on or not log on. I mean, she emailed your aide last week some random information, so I mean, she knew about court obviously, but she's the one that set the court. I was intending on asking the court to dismiss her motion anyways, because she was very vague in her motion. I'm not sure what it is, essentially amount of support she was asking for, plus she never filed a DRA, and the Kansas Supreme Court rules require a DRA if you're gonna be trying to modify an order with regards to support. So I don't feel like she would have been in a position to even argue today, even if she had shown up.
Judge, I have an email from her stating that she did not know she needed to download the Zoom app on her phone. So she's downloading it currently.
Okay. So I was just looking at the notice of her attorney to withdraw, because usually they put in there that their, clients have been notified of their obligation to further appear. But she, like you said, she knows about it. Sounds like she's trying to get on. I mean, I'm a little concerned if her attorney filed this motion to modify, she's the one that should have made sure the DRA was filed.
We continued it once so that she could file one.
Okay. Well, maybe she gave it to her client and her client didn't fill it out. I mean, you can't fill those out for your clients.
Sure, no, I understand that. I'm not blaming her in particular, but I can't prepare for a motion when I don't have a DRA and I don't know what amount even of support they're asking for.
I agree. So we just need to get this set for final hearing.
Got some outstanding discovery, and Carla Webber has not vacated the house, so I filed a motion this morning that I was gonna ask you to, if I could have a hearing date for. So I mean, I'm fine to set it for final hearing, except I do probably need I need at least a DRA, or I need some information from her to be able to kind of prepare even for a final hearing. But I would like to set a time to try to get her out of the house.
Okay, so in the temporary order, there wasn't a standard vacate clause.
Correct. And then we paid her $5,000 in December so she could pay a down payment and moving costs, and we gave her the $5,000 the day we filed that order, and she's obtained alternate housing. I understand, but has moved some stuff there, but still staying in the house.
I understand. I'm just trying to look at the verbiage.
Sure.
So it says until such time as she obtains alternate housing. So you would think logically that then she would vacate, but she hasn't. It says, or pending further order of the court. So I need to give her an order to vacate. But until I don't really have direct,
Sure.
I have personal jurisdiction, but I don't feel like I have contempt authority or anything.
Sure,
until she
I understand that, and I assumed potentially if she logged on, I wasn't sure if you could deal with that today or not. That's why I filed the motion, but I assumed maybe we would set it a week or two out whenever your next availability was, and even hear it then. I'm open to however you want to handle it.
Yeah, no, I think I'll probably talk to her and give her a date and order. And if she doesn't get logged on here pretty soon, I mean, I was 15 minutes late today. So now it's 2:22. She said, I mean, I give people in court 15 minutes before I do warrants, but I mean, it's 22 minutes after now.
She said that she was downloading the app at 2:04.
I didn't know. A lot of times I will note if people are in, I guess we've not had an actual Zoom hearing. Because a lot of times there'll be, like where you're with your client, then maybe your client isn't having to facilitate anything. But
Sure.
sometimes we have hearings where they're not in the office of their attorney and they facilitate on their own. So that's why I was wondering if she'd ever done it before. But
We've not had a hearing in this case because it got continued because she hadn't filed a DRA as of a couple months ago, and so this is the first setting.
yeah, and normally I don't do a real in-depth review when I've got attorneys on the case because I know
Sure.
they're working on it, especially when it comes to temporary order issues. But now that she doesn't have an attorney, now I have to participate as her being pro se. So I will, if she doesn't show up here in, by 2:30, when's my next hearing? I think it's, well, I guess it's not till 4, but I'm not gonna make you wait that long. So if she doesn't show up here pretty soon, I'm gonna ask you to do an order to show cause. And I'm probably gonna put your client under oath and just ask a few questions. I may even give you a date to vacate. And do an order to show cause for her to appear. And, if she doesn't want to appear, then you just do a notice of final hearing with default language, and we go ahead and take care of that too. Oops, this says Sedgwick County District Court on the notice of hearing, but still, but the other date was set by our attorney. And like I said, what I was looking for is in her withdrawal, there's usually a provision that says, like you said, I know she's been notified of today. She knew she had a responsibility to appear herself.
He's coming in now, Judge.
Okay.
I'm here, Your Honor.
All right. We are going to go on the record in Timothy Webber versus Carla Webber. It is Butler County District Court case number 2024 DM 382. The petitioner appears with his attorney, Ms. Jessica Sir. The respondent appears and is pro se because Julian Thomas has withdrawn from her case. She was advised in the motion to withdraw in paragraph 4 that she had a responsibility to appear today at 2 p.m. by Zoom. It is 2:28. This is the first time that I have had an actual hearing in this case since it's been filed, but it's been on file for quite a while. The petition for divorce was filed on October the 23rd of 2024. Temporary orders were entered on that same day. An entry of appearance on behalf of the respondent was entered on December 4th of 24. An answer was filed on December 10th of 24. A motion to modify was filed by Ms. Thomas on June 16th of 2024. It was devoid of a domestic relations affidavit. It asked for spousal maintenance. No hearing was, there was a request for a continuance. An agreed order filed with regard to some advancement of funds on December 16th, 2024 for the respondent to have money to vacate the property that was under temporary order awarded to the petitioner in Augusta. And an agreed order was entered with regard to that. There's been some discovery that's been submitted by the respondent or by the petitioner to the respondent that I understand has not been completed or returned. And in the interim, the respondent's attorney withdrew. The respondent's still required to complete the discovery as ordered. And I'm going to note a couple other things, but I need to look here at the petition. So as of tomorrow, this is a 27-year marriage. Okay, so Ms. Webber.
Yes, Your Honor.
There has been an additional motion that I hope you've received that was filed this morning to modify the temporary order. I think it's more of an alteration, not so much a modification, but to supplement the temporary order, ordering a date specific for you to vacate from the premises. By agreement, you were to vacate the premises once you'd secured alternate housing, which is why the $5,000 was paid to you to assist with your moving. There's some other things in here that indicate that you've taken steps. You have a house, you've hired a mover, but you've actually not left the property. So I will need to give you a date to leave and not return to the property. And technically, when a person files for divorce, they can get a temporary order that removes someone within 24 and 48 hours. That obviously was not done here, but that is fairly standard, as long as it appears that the party has some means to secure housing and doesn't have some exceptional circumstance that would cause them to be left homeless or disabled by virtue of the vacate order. So please tell me where you're at on this move and what your plan is and what you think the court should order as a specific deadline for you to vacate the residence in question on Sunset Drive.
Yes, Your Honor. First, I want to apologize for my lateness to you and Ms. Scher and Tim. I didn't know I was supposed to download Zoom before when I clicked launch meeting. So anyhow, the reason why I didn't vacate sooner is because after the first order, I was looking for a place to live. It took me a while within the financial means I would have after that first 5,000. So I had finally found a place and I have been moving. I'm going from a 2,800 square foot home to a 1,200 square foot duplex. So it's taken me a while to move. The first movers that came were only able to move so much because I used that $5,000, and Tim knows this, for my first month's rent and my deposit, and then the rest was to go to the movers. But when they came and I got the estimate, I had to watch the time that they were using to move my belongings so that I didn't go above that 5,000. I didn't realize I haven't moved in 30 years, so I didn't realize how expensive moving is now.
Well, why are you not sleeping in that duplex? Why are you not physically staying there all the time, even though you still have property to retrieve from the residence?
Yes, I haven't stayed there. I didn't have bedding to begin with there. And I had gotten that, but Tim and I have been, for the most part, we've been okay together. As far as me still being here on the Sunset address, there have been some issues, yes. But in the meantime, I also have animals here that he does not want to keep. And I moved to an address that has a tiny yard in the back. So there's been numerous things that I guess you could say have caused me not to end up staying there. I have been going over there and going through things to either donate them to passageways or throw them away. I have belongings from myself that I brought before the marriage. Then my mother had passed away, so then I got her belongings. And then my sister passed away, so then I ended up with her belongings.
Oh my.
So I have, right. So my garage over there, it's a 2-car garage, and it's been full with the exception of what I had the movers move into my house.
Okay.
And in the meantime, I was going through boxes and bins and throwing some of my mother's things away, my sister's things that were older, etc. And so it's taken me time.
Okay. So are you working?
No, I'm retired Army. You mean?
Okay. So you
Your
have,
Honor.
I mean, you have full time to get these things done. Do you have any health issues I should know about? Any serious health issues?
The only issues I have a disability, military related, for my lower back and my wrist, and I have no help to move me. So it's taken me, I've loaded boxes and bins in my SUV from the house prior to the first movers, and then I have to unload them myself.
Okay. So
It's taken me,
is your rent 1,500, 1,800, somewhere around?
it's $15.95, Your Honor.
Okay. And so then was your deposit 1,595?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And then did you have to do a deposit for electric or gas or cable or anything?
I don't have cable or any of that currently. I did have to do a deposit for the city for them to come out and hook up the gas, I believe it was.
Okay.
And I don't remember having a deposit for electricity with Evergy.
You don't have to give me a specific address, but what city are you going to be living in?
Bel Air,
Okay.
Your Honor.
And how much are you making monthly between your retirement and your additional disability rating and supplemental funds?
I believe it's around, do you want before taxes?
Well, usually it's gross, but you can tell us both. I mean,
Okay.
usually I'm going to have you complete a DRA that will tell gross, and then you list your expenses and well, you list how much you have to pay and taxes, etc. And then you show your net, and then you show your expenses, and then you show what you have at the end of the month.
Yes, Your Honor. That was already sent to Ms. Sure. I believe she got it yesterday. I didn't know Miss Thomas hadn't sent some of the information to her prior to. So at the last minute, I was having to fill out all of this other information
Okay,
and I had sent it to her
I
yesterday.
got probably 10 emails that had a bunch of different attachments with them. My staff, as we speak, is kind of trying to open and piece all of that together.
okay,
I don't believe I got a domestic relations affidavit. I got a bunch of attachments, though,
okay.
not in
Well,
any
to
organized
some-
fashion.
To some degree, Miss Sir, until she kind of got in a place, I mean, if you wanted to see from her a DRA as to her living situation outside of Sunset, to some degree, she almost has to get settled. See what her expenses are going to be for it to really have much value.
And
I
they
think
kept
what I'm gonna
separate bank
do right
accounts,
now-
so I don't even know what her social security is or what her military disability is. I
Well,
don't know
that's
what.
what I'm trying to get to right now.
Yeah,
That,
So-
yes, that was, in that I had to take pictures of all the documents separate, or all the pages
Okay.
separate.
Just tell me what you receive in income monthly.
Monthly from my Army retirement, what I get after taxes is like 2450.
Okay,
And then my Social Security is like 1400 and some change.
okay. And then what is your disability check that you get?
That is part of that what did I say, 2500, 24?
Okay,
Yes, that's included in that. It's like $200 and something.
okay. And then, how old are you?
I am 64. I
Okay.
will be 65 in October.
Okay. So are you on, TRICARE?
I'm on TRICARE right now.
Okay.
And I'm on TRICARE Family because it is also paying for Tim
Oh, okay,
to have a secondary insurance. When I turn 65, I will go to TRICARE for life and then Medicare.
okay.
Yes,
And when do you turn 65?
October 3rd, Your Honor.
Okay. And Jessica, I'm sure you already know this, but the date of divorce is when a person is removed from TRICARE, like your client. So it's not the first of the month or 30 days, or it's it's done the date that a divorce occurs. So he needs to keep that in mind. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do today. I am not going to proceed with any request for alimony until in the court file is a domestic relations affidavit and with all of your expenses and what you are, and a number that you are asking for. And then I will, if you request, set that for hearing. Unfortunately, if you don't get another attorney, you are going to be acting as your own attorney. And in many or most ways, you're required to follow the same procedure. So I am not going to operate on your old motion. You're going to have to file a new motion for maintenance or support if you want it. And
Okay.
you're gonna have to have a DRA filed with it. And in your motion, you need to indicate the amount you want and request a hearing date. And then we'll notify Ms. Sir of a hearing date and we will litigate temporary maintenance. Or you can simply save that argument and request for a final decree.
Okay.
So,
Your Honor, I do have a meeting set up on Monday. Was the soonest legal services could get me a meeting with someone.
okay,
And I'm also going to call another attorney probably this afternoon
okay,
to see
okay,
he would require as far as a down payment.
okay. Otherwise, I was going to say, start negotiating with Ms. Sir as to a division of property and assets and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Because we need to start working on completing this discovery and pushing this thing to a, final divorce. But today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a date certain to vacate the premises. That doesn't mean that you can't ask for property that still is yours or you believe is yours that you want, because he is under a temporary order not to remove, dispose of, transfer, or sell any property.
Yes, Your Honor.
Just like you can't go in and take, firearms or
Right.
heirlooms or things like that and sell it yourself. No, that's all on hold pending distribution in the divorce.
Yes,
So
Your Honor.
Today, I would say if you two could live peacefully, that you need to be out of there no later than Monday. And your only return would be with lawful permission to re-enter to get additional items.
Yes, Your Honor. I had already called 2 Men in a Truck, which they moved me the first time. I called them before this meeting and gave them a list, which I sent to Ms. Scher,
Okay.
as well as far as a moving date. They are going to, and she had mentioned that Tim would pay for it. And I got a date. It is May 12th. So
Your Honor,
absolutely.
I never committed for Tim to pay for move. I said in the motion that he might be open to assisting with some other expenses if there was some really firm, but I don't know that he's gonna pay for a whole mover. I mean, if there's little expenses or little things and it's what it takes to get her out, I think we're open to that, but not paying a huge amount or paying something and not knowing then that there's gonna be some follow through. I mean, we already gave a bunch of money for this to happen.
Okay, so, well, I don't know that he's paid a bunch of money, but, he voluntarily agreed without a hearing or an order of the court to give her 5,000, but
Sure.
it sounds like most of that was consumed with deposits in this initial move. But here's my question to you, Ms. Webber. Did you two not have a joint checking account, or do you have your own accounts? Or
We have separate accounts.
okay, have you pretty much always operated that way?
For the most part, I think we had separate accounts.
Okay. So, okay. So what you need to do, what I'm going, these are my orders today. You need to show receipts or proof of what you've spent the $5,000 on. Just for purposes of, you guys are gonna be dividing this stuff, and it needs to be very clear where $5,000 went, whether it's him that spent it or you that spent it. So the $5,000, you need to show receipts for, a check or a withdrawal or a bill or an invoice or something. What happened to the 5,000? Then I want you to be physically residing in your duplex by Monday. So you're not to return Monday evening. Once you leave Monday morning, when you get up, you're not to return. But I am going to allow that mover to come May 15th, and
May 12th,
I'm going
Your
to
Honor.
allow them to what?
May 12th, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, May 12th. And then I'm gonna have them look at your list that you gave to the movers and that you gave to Ms. Sir. And I presume there'll be an estimate, or you could ask them to give you an estimate based on what you've listed that'll cost to move.
And
then,
I had already sent that to Ms. Scher just earlier before the meeting.
Okay, but she hasn't got a chance to look at it.
Yeah, and
So
I think the only thing I have is a screenshot of something from them that says what the estimate is. I don't think that I have a list unless it's in my inbox from after she sent that screenshot.
Okay, I will send that to you. I didn't realize it wasn't able to be opened, so I will send that to you as well.
Perfect. What is the estimate?
I believe it was 1,100 to 1,500, and they base it on time as well, like how long it takes them to move, but they are pretty fast. So, from the first time,
Okay,
so, but I don't have that money to pay out of my pocket. I really don't.
okay. So do you have any savings that is in your name solely?
Nope,
Okay,
no, I don't, Your Honor.
so all you've operated with funds wise is what's in your account that's deposited from the military and your social security.
Yes, Your
Okay, and who was basically paying all of the household bills on Sunset?
Tim is, with the exception of, I pay for Hulu, I think, and I think that was it, but he does.
Okay, and then what vehicle do you drive?
I drive the Chevy Equinox, Your Honor.
Is that paid for?
Yes, Your Honor. But
Okay,
I had to, oh, I'm sorry. I
what
had to
year?
take out a loan with One Main for $3,500 using my vehicle as collateral, and that went to Miss Thomas to retain her.
Okay, when's that gotta be paid back?
I'm making monthly payments, Your Honor.
Okay. So, okay, so no savings account. He paid most of the bills. You don't owe anything on your car.
No, Your Honor.
He's still paying the car insurance apparently.
He's paying, I pay for my car insurance,
Okay.
for my vehicle, and
Okay.
he pays for his two vehicles using USAA.
Okay, very good.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Anything else major that you're having to pay on?
Me, no.
Okay,
It's just the rent and then utilities and my vehicle insurance.
okay. All right. Well, here's what I'm doing, Miss Sir, today. I'm ordering her to have physically vacated the property by Monday, which is April the 28th.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm requiring her to get the remainder of her property on May 12th. I'm ordering that your client pay for that unless he has some objection that he wants to lodge. And then I am directing you, Ms. Webber, to get a DRA on file. You can find those forms either through the clerk or the judicial website, or look at the one that you got from him and just duplicate it. But I want you to get a DRA on file.
Do you want me to send that to Amy?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And then for me to consider spousal support, you can file a motion for support, noting that you have the DRA completed and on file, or do it together. And then, like I said, I'll schedule that for a hearing as soon as I can. Or when you if you end up talking to an attorney, you can just try to get your divorce and all your assets and everything agreed to and finalized. And if
Okay.
there's some maintenance, usually I just don't know your situation. Like if there's equity from a home, or there's some 401s, or there's some money that you're going to get, either it's sufficient for you to live on, or you ask for maintenance. So, but I don't know what that's gonna look like. And so
Okay,
work on that yourself by emailing back and forth with Jessica, or you can get an attorney. But I'm not going to consider in the interim giving you maintenance prior to a final divorce decree
right.
unless there is a motion on file with an amount that's requested that accompanies with a DRA. Okay?
Okay,
Okay,
yes,
fair
Your Honor.
enough? All right. Now,
With regards to the moving expenses, I don't have a problem if the court orders my client to pay, for example, 1,500 towards the mover, if the range was 11 to 15. I don't want it to be an open-ended, he has to pay. I mean, she needs to pack and have it organized and do what she needs to do to make it as quick and easy as possible. And I don't know if I mean, we can consider that he paid that in the overall, final division. But I'm a little hesitant to have him give her more funds and then not even know that it's gonna go to the movers. So
Okay,
I don't know.
well, I mean,
And I have no
this
problem
is
with
the
him.
deal that you worked out with Miss Thomas. I mean, she could have potentially got maintenance that would have gone beyond the 5,000 that she wouldn't have to count to anybody for under the temporary order. So, he can't ask her to get out of there, which I think is the number one priority at this point, and then expect that she can pack everything very nicely and make it easy and have it in the driveway.
Well, but
So
she's had
I-
6 months to do that, but I understand that she hasn't taken much effort. And my client's DRA doesn't show that he has a large amount of income and extra available every single month. So, I mean, I don't know that he would have been ordered to pay. I mean, if you look at his DRA, he doesn't have the capacity of paying very much at all. So I don't even know that he would have had to pay that much, but I understand your
Well,
point.
Has he not helped at all in packing stuff up? I mean, if she
No,
leaves
Your
Monday,
Honor.
she's not gonna be able to do any more. Unless he decides to let her come over in the evening for a few hours in the evening or a few hours in the afternoon. I mean, he's got to make up his mind. Either they're going to stop at a point on Monday and the movers are going to finish packing and moving whatever's not packed, and it's going to have to be paid for, or she keeps having access to the property to get everything ready for the move on the 12th. So I
think he's open to allowing her to have access to the property to come over and pack if that's needed. I just want there to be some guarantee of a date certain and some cap on the expenses that he's gonna pay. At least for now.
okay. Well, it sounds like she's at least got an estimate, but it's gonna be cleaner the more that's packed up and ready to go and sitting in an easy place for them to just get and throw on a truck.
Sure.
Like in the garage or something. So I am going to ask that she plan to no longer stay the night and live in the house after Monday.
Okay.
I am going to ask, unless he ends up having an objection, because I think if they can agree on what's left and inventory it, they probably know whether it's just one truck they got to fill and what else needs to be done to finish it up. The sorting is probably what's taking the most time. And so you may, as much as you'd like to, it's always a good time when you move to sort through everything. It's not that easy to sort through 10 or 20 years worth of stuff. You might have to just move the things that you haven't got to go through and sort it at your place. And I know you said your garage is almost full, but, or you may,
Your
if
Honor,
it's something that you don't want to part with and you want physical possession of, you may have to rent a storage unit for a little while till you get a chance to go through it all.
I do have a pod, Your Honor, that's in the driveway here in Augusta that has maybe 6 or 7 things in it that Tim and I have moved out there already. Part of the estimate of the movers is they are going to move boxes that I already have packed, which is probably about 30, into the pod as well, because like I said, I have no help as far as getting those, you know, the heavier things and things I can't do by myself.
And then
But
they're
that's part of the
transfer the
estimates.
pod to your residence?
Yes.
Okay,
And then I'll have to pay a monthly rent on it until I can go through box by box and unload.
right. Well, I've never looked into all of that. I don't know if that's the same price as what a storage unit essentially would cost you, only you have the you know, the convenience of it being right there on
The
site.
pod at your house.
Yeah,
Yes.
Miss Sir,
It is actually
hoping
about
there's
$230 a month.
how much?
It's about $230 a month.
Well, you could probably get a storage unit sooner or less than that, so you'll probably want to get through that as quick as possible. So,
Yes.
Ms. Sir, I'm hoping that you've received some things or will be receiving things that will help sort some of this out once you've conferred with your client. But if not, you're free to, you know, ask the court for a quick Zoom hearing.
Sure. Are you anticipating him paying the 1,500 to her directly or to the movers? I just want some
No,
clarity
I
on.
don't know why he wouldn't just pay the mover
Okay.
when they show up, right?
Yes, and I agree. I agree to that.
Yeah. So,
Actually 100, I'm sorry, Your Honor, 180 is due to the movers today as a deposit. And then the rest would be due the same day they move everything.
okay.
And that's how it went the first time.
Okay. Now, do you have one of those TSP accounts? Do you have a savings?
I do
account?
not, Your Honor.
So other than this money that you get monthly, you don't have any other affiliated retirement?
No, Your Honor, that's it.
Okay.
That's what I'm getting now. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. I'm going to set a hearing so we can keep this on track for a status for a trial if you can't resolve all the issues that are typically have to be taken care of for a divorce to be finalized, okay? So
Yes, Your Honor.
give me just a minute. Now, did you guys not have any children, or do you just not have any minor children anymore?
No, we did not have, well, we had 5 babies that I lost, Your Honor, but we don't have any living children together.
Okay. June the 12th, Ms. Sir?
I am available at any time that day.
I have, let's see, what, do you want to do it at 2 again, same time?
That work with your schedule, Tim? Sure, that's okay.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna do what we call a status, and then I can confirm that the personal property has been retrieved or find out what's left that still needs to be transferred to one or the other. We're gonna see where you're at with an attorney. We're gonna make sure that I'm gonna make sure and confirm that you've responded to all the discovery that you have. And hopefully either you or an attorney will be conferring with Ms. Sir and exchanging property lists or valuations of things and trying to sort out kind of how you could do a division, an equitable division of your property and any debt that you have. Okay?
Yes,
And
Your
then,
Honor.
and then if the interim, you file for, maintenance, we can take that up, at that time. I mean, I'm not sure we'll have a full, like we'd have a full evidentiary hearing, but it would get scheduled and a final hearing or trial would get scheduled that day too. Okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. 2024 DM 382.
Do you think that 180, Carla, can that be paid tomorrow to them, or does it really need to be paid today?
It can be paid tomorrow, but they will not schedule the move. So if May 12th is gone, they'll have to reschedule the move. Because they won't schedule it until that deposit is paid.
Okay.
All right, anything further?
I don't have anything further today, I don't believe.
Okay,
I don't have anything further, Your Honor.
okay. And just,
I would like to apologize again for having to download Zoom before. I didn't know I had to do that. So I'm sorry.
that's okay. It all
I
works.
was late.
I was about 15 minutes late anyway, so you weren't technically more than 15 minutes late, so it's fine. Now you know. Okay, so, Ms. Sir, would you go ahead and journalize today for me,
Yes,
please?
I
Okay, thank you
will.
so much. Okay.
Yep.
If there's nothing further, then we're adjourned and we'll see you in June unless you contact me sooner.